Welcome to a Tuesday edition of In Touch with Indiana Sports, powered by thehoosier.com. Almost said the old website affiliation, but yes, we are now powered by thehoosier.com, affiliated with On3 Sports. Proud to be a part of that network, of course. Happy Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend, Memorial Day weekend. And, of course, we wouldn't be able to enjoy that long weekend without those who sacrificed their lives in combat, in the military, whatever it may have been, whenever and however they may have served. We absolutely appreciate being able to have all of the freedoms that we have in this country, thanks to those who died for us and for the United States of America. So, for today's edition of the show, we got a special guest, Mitchell Paige, one of my good friends, longtime friend of the show as well. Going to be a guest-heavy episode, and not in the sense that there's a lot of guests, but the majority of this episode, you could really just say all of it, will be taken up by that conversation. And then I guess just while I'll go ahead and transition us into our conversation with Mitchell Paige. We're going to talk a lot about really just a myriad of things. We're going to catch up a little bit. It's been a while since we've had him on the show. We're going to talk about the Pacers and what they haven't been able to do as well, especially in that Game 3. My goodness. Game 3 was the first one of this series that I have watched from start to finish. And for it to play out the way that it did, it's just very aggravating. And as somebody who's just a casual fan as well, I'm sure for those of you who are diehard Pacers fans, I can't imagine what the emotional roller coaster was like for you during that Game 3 whenever they give up a 20-point lead. And I know the NBA is a lot longer of a game than the college game, but my goodness. There's a number of other factors that went into play with that as well. So, and also another real quick story I want to mention about the Pacers, and then I'll quit stun locking us and get rolling. But for game one against the Knicks on the road, of course, some of you may have seen this on social media. And if you haven't, then this is why I'm telling it right now. But it was, there was maybe 3 or 4 minutes left, maybe less. I can't remember the exact point in time in which I did this, but I do know the Pacers were down by 13 or 14 points. And I told my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm getting aggravated watching the end of this game. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. And if they end up finding a way to come back, then I'll eat my words about this tomorrow. And lo and behold, I woke up the next morning to find out that the Pacers took care of, I don't want to say take care of business, but they found a way to get it done and won in overtime thanks to some late game heroics once again. So the NBA is weird, man, because I feel like with the college basketball game, you wouldn't have seen a comeback like that happen in such a short period of time. So, and of course, you had the Reggie Miller thing from Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, it was all just so, they say absolute cinema, as I saw many people refer to it on social media. But I wanted to share those two quick stories since we're going to get into some Pacers conversation with our friend Mitchell Paige. And of course, we will talk Indiana football as well as we kind of head into rankings season, right? Everybody starts kind of sizing up each other, predicting where teams will be, where head coaches stand, that sort of thing. So we'll look at all that type of stuff with Mitchell Paige and just have a good time as always. And then we'll wrap things up on the other side. I know kind of a different pace of an episode, for lack of a better term, pun intended, I guess. And then we'll go back to hopefully releasing regularly on Mondays, beginning of once again next week. So without further ado, let's bring in our man, Mitchell Paige, former Indiana Hoosiers football wide receiver. And hope you guys will sit back, relax, grab a cup of Joe, cup of whatever, cup of water. Who knows? If you're getting off work when you listen to this, maybe you crack open a cold beer, whatever it may be. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. All right, joining us on In Touch with Indiana Sports, once again, it is Mitchell Paige. Mitchell, as always, it's been a while. When we're not in football season, we definitely go a lot longer between conversations than we normally would. So it's a pleasure once again to have you back on the show.
Yeah, man. It's you don't invite me anymore. It's fine. I have more interests than football, but whatever. I don't really know anything else, and I really don't know football either. So I'm just happy to be here, buddy. Great to see
I
you.
wish I could have you on every week, but Alec and Kyler would kill me if I did that.
You think so?
It's okay during football season, but not during the off season.
You think I'd be that bad? I'm just setting you up right now.
Yeah,
I'm just setting you up.
That's okay. How's life? One thing, first of all, we'll go ahead and point out the obvious. I did it before we started recording. That room behind you is way more finished than it's ever been.
Yeah, I hung some stuff up college dorm style. There's no frames, but I've got my hole-in-one flags. Made a little hole-in-one we talked about. I actually hung up my jersey, which has been just collecting dust in my basement forever, and hung it up. I like it. This is my den. Also, Maggie's dominant playroom. We spend a lot of time in here, so we had to get it.
It looks like a very cozy room. And I also see is there a gaming chair on the right side of the screen as well?
So Laura works from home, and I wasn't just going to get her, some little chair.
Some rinky-dink
chair. I'm trying to get her to start gaming with me, play some kind of video games. Couples that game together stay together. That's what I've heard. And she hasn't taken a bite yet, but
What have you tried then?
To get her to play?
Yeah.
Anything. Minecraft, Rocket League.
The basics.
The simplest, and then graduate her into some of the more advanced stuff as she gets more comfortable with the controller in her hand.
You see, I feel like my wife would enjoy video gaming too, because she loves getting super immersed in like a good book. And a lot of good video games nowadays have really good stories attached to them. So really, books and video games, not too far off of a medium from each other. I don't know if your wife's into reading, but maybe I can use that as a way to hook my wife into doing some gaming as well.
I'm telling you, it's just visual. Some of these new games are awesome as well. But really, it's the only way I stay connected to all my buddies. Yeah. We all live in different places. She's kind of the same. Now her friends don't game, but we could play together. But
of course,
I digress. There's some sports going on. Sports are happening. Sports are always
some sports
happening
going on. And I'll say this, just like every year, I get called a fair weather fan for watching the Indiana Pacers in the NBA playoffs because, of course, I rarely pay attention to the Pacers during the regular season. I do tend to follow along with the playoffs, but the last two seasons, and even more so this year, I mean, they're serious contenders. Game 3 was the first game that I watched from start to finish, at least in this series so far. And it unfortunately was the most disappointing result. You're up by 20 points, and you find a way to let Karl Anthony Towns basically become inhuman against the Pacers during the second half. And just watching it, it was one of those kind of things when you realize you're watching a player that is otherworldly, at least in that moment, you kind of realize there was nothing Indiana would have been able to do to stop him from going on his reign of terror, I feel like.
Yeah, I think there's two thoughts that I have currently. One, since the Pacers went to Bally Sports away from Fox Sports Midwest, and it's now behind a paywall to watch them during the regular season, you are no longer a fair weather fan if you don't watch the preseason or regular season. You can't. I'm not. It's like $35 a month. I'm not. I pay for way too much crap.
Amen.
I'm not made of money, so following in the playoffs is really your only option if you're not going to fork over the cash that's required every month, and that's just the reality. But when you finally do get to watch them, they're the most fun basketball team to watch I think I've probably ever seen. If Indiana could find a way to play at least half of the way that they play, that'd be incredible. But it just – when all these guys are so good, that's what the only thing I was thinking about in Game 3 is – the way that and Karl Anthony Towns is an all-star. He's had a bunch of great years, so he kind of is not really who I'm talking about. But every single guy on every single roster is the best player in the world. in any other scenario. So it just winning games, I don't care if you're up 20, 30. I mean, the Pacers have done it to people. Those games are never over. It's nice to have a 20-point lead, but when someone starts playing like Karl Anthony Towns and making shots, fadeaways as a 7-footer from 35 feet, sometimes it's their night. And that's why it was so important to go steal even one game in New York. And the fact that they got two, you knew the Knicks were going to, I mean, they have all-star players on that. I know they only have 6 guys that play, but 2 of them are perennial all-stars. Some people believe the most clutch player in the NBA. I disagree, but
He
voted the
hasn't been
most.
clutch, and I mean, I guess he's had some moments so
Yeah,
far.
but I mean, they just have you knew they were going to throw a punch. They threw one. You still have another one at home to get to 3-1. Series isn't over, but it's looking pretty good at 3-1. Even if you go back, if you lose tomorrow night or today, as this is probably coming out, but
Well, it just sucks that they can't win this. It seems like they never put themselves. I mean, I guess it's kind of a good and a bad thing. They're never in a position where they can win the series in front of their home fans. They've been winning series on the road, I guess, right?
yeah, and I think it would be different if it was game 7. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you could have closed it out in game 6, but I mean, every series they've had, they've just beat the crap out of them so bad that they win the 5th game in their building, and it's hard to really complain about that. But I think if you could have told me at the beginning of this series that going into game 4, the Pacers were up 2-1, you'd feel pretty freaking good about it. Now, you're like, oh no, we lost one at home. It hurts. Yeah, it hurts, but still 2-1. These guys are the best players in the world. I wouldn't want to play with the Pacers for 7 whole games in a row every other day. Everything that the Pacers are built to do are long series, wear you down. The fact that they kind of swept up everybody early only helps them. It's I feel good about tomorrow. I feel good about the series, and contenders is absolutely the right word. I don't think they'll ever be the favorites just because they're Indiana and they'll always be small market, but man, they're tough. They have so many guys, and that's what's missing in the NBA. I was talking about this the other day. Like most NBA teams play the high screen and roll with your franchise player, your franchise big, setting high screen and rolls and just playing pick and roll, and that's your whole offense. If you're not on the fast break, it's high screen and roll for your shot makers and let them shoot a step back. The Pacers move the ball. You hear all the time, oh, we don't care who scores the points. Pretty much every other NBA team, they do care. It does matter who scores the points. The Pacers have had big nights from Halliburton, Turner, Pascal Siakam, Nesmith. Nembhard, I'm sure, is going to have one. TJ McConnell comes in, has big nights. They have so many weapons. I just don't see how, I don't care who it is, I don't see how a team can play with them for 7 games. If you don't get 2 kind of early in the series, good luck to you. I'm cheering for you.
What do you make of, and I feel like a lot of this has been put to bed at this point, but one of the talking points, especially during the Cleveland series, was that Tyrese Halliburton is one of the most overrated, if not the most overrated point guards in the NBA. I think a lot of that has been put to rest just by he was 3 for 3 and still is 3 for 3 in game-winning 3-point shot attempts in the playoffs, which is an absurd number. And all of that, of course, being this playoffs, why do people think he's overrated for one? And then what makes him not overrated? I guess maybe what makes him not is kind of self-explanatory, but where do people get this idea that he's not as good as he actually is?
Because he chirps. It's because of the way he plays. You want to hate him. If he played for anyone else, think about how much you would hate that guy. He has way too much fun.
Don't mean to interrupt, but my wife was watching the game with me, and she's like, I can see him not being a fun guy to, like, if he's not on your team. My wife, Alicia, made that comment. And I didn't really think about that, but of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he has way too much fun. A guy that is smiling, loves what he's doing, couldn't be happier. People love to hate that. It's just the reality. And he talks trash. He went straight for the Reggie choke immediately. Didn't even have to think about it. That's a guy that people love to hate. You win those awards when you're doing something right, I think. overrated, whatever. Like, he was on the Olympic team. Oh, he didn't even play. Okay, well, he was on the Olympic team. Like, it just, he has, the Pacers have been, they were really good. Then they kind of were in the mud a little bit. And you bring him in, he's young, fairly unknown, and he's invigorated a franchise, a city, into believing they've built the, this is the first time I've said this, so I may say it incorrectly, but it's just kind of the way I'm thinking about it. They've built the team through him instead of around him. They've put people into place that he can make better, that they see, okay, you have this potential. Tyrese Halliburton will help you reach that potential, versus in other like superstar markets, they just try to put some shooters around. So when he drives off the pick and roll, he's got someone to kick to. The Pacers are built through Tyrese Halliburton, not around him. And that's what makes it so dangerous. And that's what makes him so easy to hate, because he makes everyone so much better. Oh, and you throw in his dad being an absolute psychopath. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing ever. Guy just loves his son. Now, did he go too far? I think he admitted yes. But did you also see that it's announced he's back in the building? So no way we lose game 4. But it's just they've done such a good job constructing the roster in a way that makes Tyrese Halliburton the kind of like accelerant, the catapult, but the pieces that are built to help them go, it's just, that's the kind of star that you want. And what a good representative. I mean, the way he supports the Fever, the way he supports the city, it's just, that's the guy you want. And that's the way that you get those awards, is because everybody loves when someone's that good at what they do. Everyone hates.
That's the thing too, like you mentioned in the accelerants, it really just kind of goes to show that it's not even about him, it's about the system. And I think that's another reason that national analysts are always quick to just kind of diss the Pacers, because even though Halliburton is the star player, I think it's always been more about how Indiana's offense in general is so unique compared to other teams in the NBA, to where I feel like the Pacers brand isn't so much Tyrese Halliburton. It's definitely one of the biggest parts of it, but it's more so about how fast they play and how much they score and how efficiently they're able to do it. Didn't look like that in the second half of the other night, but their brand overall is more so about the way they play as opposed to who they have on the roster for the most part.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's a team that's engineered to play this style, and I don't think it's very often, especially in the NBA, where you're able to put together a team that really cares about each other and cares about the style and brand and really buys in the way the Pacers have. And that's why I think the people in Indiana are loving it so much, because I think, I can't remember what Indiana coach said this, Indiana basketball, IU, last year, but like Indiana basketball fans, just in general, the state of Indiana basketball fans we're demanding, but we're not that hard to please. We want you to play hard and play the right way. That's it. We don't care if you win, if you're in college, if you go undefeated, win 33 games and win the national championship. Yeah, that's better. But if you play the right way, there's at least going to be some leniency you'll get a longer leash, right? If you don't play hard, they're pretty quick to snap, as we saw with the Indiana basketball Hoosiers. This Pacers team plays the way that the state of Indiana basketball fans love to watch the game be played. Play with heart. They dive on the court. They're excited, and they play with a passion that you'd be blind not to see it immediately. It's just, I've had a blast watching them, man. I can't wait. Dustin's already been texting me about the finals, and so we may be looking ahead too far over here, but
I mean, here's one thing that's always funny about these 7-game series. It doesn't matter who's playing, Pacers, someone not even involved with Indiana in a series. The narrative is always driven by who won the most recent games. Like, oh my gosh, New York got one back. Everything's on their side now. And all of a sudden there's life. When people previously, after Indiana goes up 2-0, they're like, oh my gosh, the Knicks are cooked. You're seeing Stephen A. Smith on social media have an absolute meltdown, which I could not get enough of over the weekend, just because I just find it so hilarious, especially because the Pacers are doing it to the Knicks. And I'm sure there'll be more where that comes from if the Pacers are able to kind of figure their act out on in Game 4 and beyond. But it is always funny how the narrative's always driven by who wins the next game, and I think it's always going to be that way.
Forever.
And whether that's the way to do it or not, it's what happens in this sport apparently.
Yeah, and especially in an Indiana Knicks series. I mean, you can't have maybe Milwaukee fits in the Indiana bucket, but two fan bases that are as opposite as the Knicks and the Pacers, just in the terms of the way they live their life. You couldn't be two opposite ends of the spectrum. They both appreciate basketball. They both love the crap out of their teams, right? But the way that a New Yorker lives their life versus someone in Indiana could not be more different. So it's so
the amount
funny.
of celebrities that you see on the sidelines at Knicks games
funny.
versus in Indianapolis, it's so like if you're
We got
not
our guy
used
Mike
to it.
Epps. We got Mike Epps. We got Mike Epps. We got Pat McAfee. We don't have Timothy Chalamet and Ben Stiller and all these dorks.
And plus, you don't have Drake on the sidelines. Like, I don't even know if he goes to NBA games anymore. I feel like it used to be a big deal when Drake was at Raptors games all the time.
He owned the Raptors, didn't he? I don't know if he still
might
does.
have. He might have.
I know he owned the Raptors. I just don't know if he still does. But yeah, we're blue collar, man. We're hardworking.
Well, blue collar, gold swag.
Yes, sir.
By the way, yeah, that's the other thing. Yes, sirs. As catchy as it is to say,
not my favorite.
It has to be one of the corniest like hashtags that they could have come up with, right?
Not my favorite. Blue collar gold swagger goes so hard. It's so ridiculous that I love it so much. But I just want them to win. I don't care what the hashtag says. Just go win the dang games.
And if they make it to the finals, it'll be the first time since 2000 when they lost to, what was the Lakers, I think I saw the other day.
Kobe Bryant led Los Angeles Lakers.
Look at that. And I think right now, again, at the time of this recording, OKC versus Minnesota Game 4 has not happened, but there'll be a result by the time this comes out. I'm sure if it ends up being the Thunder, of course, if Indiana advances, if it ends up being the Thunder, I'm sure the Thunder will be favorites with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And even they may even be underdogs against the Timberwolves. But either way, you'll definitely be considered more of a toss-up if it ends up being Minnesota as opposed to Oklahoma City, I would imagine.
I'm just saying, if you've bet on the Pacers every game, you've made money. That's all I'm saying. So take that what you will. Take with that what you will for the finals. But if you've bet Pacers money line this playoffs, you're pretty happy. I continue doing that. That's all I say.
There you go. Let's transition into talking to some Indiana football stuff. First of all, there's a couple things I want to get into. I guess this first thing is, are they doing a field renovation on Memorial Stadium? Did I see that happen? Did they tear up the field the other day?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe maybe this is something that it's not as big of a deal as I thought I saw, but someone put on social media, it was a photo that looked like they were either redoing the turf or, and again, it may just be complete, like, it may not be like a complete, new style of field, like that sort of thing. Maybe it's just something they do annually. I don't know how that normally works, but I did see a photo that somebody put out.
I know they redid the indoor facility.
Okay.
Which was about time. I think I was playing on the same indoor turf that Antoine Randall was practicing on. That thing was so old. Not to say Antoine Randall is old, but it was time. Think about inside. This is a little gross inside look at college football. Well, a bunch of sports used it, first of all, but how much sweat, spit, blood in that indoor. It never gets any rain. Really not that easy to clean.
Does that have a stench?
Oh, it smelled horrible in there. It smelled like a locker room. It's horrible. But I know they got it resurfaced. But that may have been earlier this year because they were practicing in spring on the new turf. So maybe they did. We didn't we got it resurfaced for my senior year. It looked dingy. Our game field was bad my first 4 years. And when they redid it, you could just tell a huge difference in just the technology. The little rubber pieces don't fly everywhere. It looks better on TV. And with how much kind of publicity and revenue is coming into the stadium or into the program, I would guess they probably did it. They're going to get a lot of national TV games. You got to make sure it looks popping.
Everybody wants them to, I say everybody, I feel like there's a loud portion of the fan base that wants them to candy stripe the end zones. I would want that to happen, but I don't know how likely it is that we'll see that happen this year. I would also like to see the script Indiana in the end zones as well, as opposed to what they traditionally do with the crimson background and just the block lettering, I guess is what they've always done.
I go back and forth. I don't think just candy stripe end zone plain would look good. I just don't. Even if you had it slanted, I don't think it would look great.
Even if you did like do the script Indiana that I have right now in the candy stripes with I don't know, I guess a gray background like I've got on my shirt. I don't know.
I think that would be so sweet. Even if you just did like a green end zone with just that script from like hash to hash.
Yeah.
That would be You know what? This is what I'm going to say. They seem to be pulling the right strings right now. Whatever they want to do, I'm in.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're just little peons right now. Like they kind of have all the cards on their table.
I'm a peon forever.
Also, have you seen these videos that apparently have been hinting at the, I don't know if you would call it a return, I guess it would be, but a mascot, the Bison for Indiana? I guess it would be not just football, but for all Indiana sports. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it could be hilarious. I think it could be the best addition to Indiana sports in 100 years.
But here's what happens, though, right? And I know that this is me just kind of, maybe this is a low-hanging fruit. If things go south early, everyone's going to blame it on the fact that there's a mascot. They're going to say, get rid of the Bison. And I know that that's just assuming things go wrong, which is probably not something I should be doing at this point in time.
Well, that's
you're asking for people to say that the Bison is cursed. You're setting yourself up for failure with this, I feel like.
I don't think there's a better time to bring it back. Some student running around as a Bison is 10 out of 10 funny. I don't care. I don't care what.
It feels like it's going to piss off Colorado and Deion Sanders too, just because it's a Bison, and people in general will probably be confused as to why Indiana is using a Bison as their mascot. And honestly, they'll probably get them a lot of attention there in the early going, I would imagine.
Finally,
because
some
it is so off
viral, finally some positive viral, like even if it's what is this, and can get rid of that misspelling on the front of the jersey.
That's right, the Indiana.
Picture of the 10 shirtless dudes when we're losing 50-0 to Rutgers. If we can get
that was Indiana's brand for a good couple of years, though, wasn't it?
A while, dude. A while. I think we only got out of that brand maybe after like the 8th game this year. It took us to be 8-0 to stop seeing those stupid images on Twitter.
I want to look at.
Have you seen some of the? And I know preseason rankings don't mean anything. They're stupid.
Oh, that's funny. I was about to get into some preseason stuff, but you can share with what you got first.
Doubters, man. Doubters. They're
everywhere. A lot of people high on Illinois and not super. I don't want to say they're low on Indiana, but most of the preseason polls I've seen see Illinois placed near the top 10 and Indiana closer to like 18, 19, 20, that sort of thing.
I haven't even seen Indiana in the top 20 yet. So maybe I need to start looking harder. But every single poll has Illinois between 12 and 14. They're some bums, dude. They ain't been good ever. Ever. Indiana's going to beat them by 70, and I can't wait.
I will say, though, that here's what's annoying about that. And maybe it will be different this year because you already have a year's worth of results. But you get to that week 4 or 5. I can't think of what week it is. It's one of the early games for both teams. And both teams are going to be highly projected, evidently, in that, or, going into the season. And whichever team loses, they're immediately going to start shitting on that team. And it's going to be, oh, that team's just not really that good. And the credit's not going to be given to who actually won that game. That's what's going to be aggravating for both sides in that game, I feel like.
Oh, I disagree. I think if Indiana beats Illinois, Indiana beat a really good team.
I hope so. I hope so.
If Illinois beats Indiana, Illinois beat a team that wasn't that good. I think that Illinois, there's no scenario where people look at Illinois that much worse. Like, oh, well, they had to go on the road and play Indiana. They're both really good teams. Versus if preseason number 12 Illinois somehow comes into Indiana.
I think what it is, so they've got, of course, Luke Altmaier's back. I'm pretty sure their entire offensive line is back.
Are you scared of a guy named Luke Altmaier? No. You're not scared of that guy.
But are they scared of a guy named Fernando Mendoza?
You better be.
I would be,
gunslinger.
But are they?
The absolute gunslinger. I watched
the Cuban, what do they call him? The Cuban cannon, or am I just making that up?
I think you're making that up. You better make sure he's Cuban.
I think he is Cuban.
I don't know.
We'll fact check live on the show right now.
I'm just messing with
Surely, Fernando Mendoza, do you have a Wikipedia page? I don't know if you're even going to see this.
All I'm saying is you better be scared of him. As you know, I'm a big Miami Hurricanes fan as well. That's who I grew up like, and that's where I wanted to go. Not afraid to admit it. When I was a 10-year-old,
son of Cuban immigrants. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, very good. When I was a young lad, I wanted to run out of the smoke at Miami. So I say all of that to say I watch the Miami Hurricanes every week, just like I watch the Indiana Hoosiers. At about 2 a.m. this season, Miami went to Cal. Cal was up by 1 million. Miami did come back and win. But I watched a play. Fernando Mendoza scrambles up the middle and gets absolutely decapitated. His head, I think, actually came off of his body. Any other player is in the hospital for months. And he got up and took the snap on the next play. That's the kind of guy.
Indiana's, coming off of Curtis Rourke, a guy who played the entire season with a torn ACL that nobody knew about in the public eye. That's apparently the exact kind of person you want in your backfield.
Yeah. And these are not like, I don't have insider sources that are at practice all the time feeding me this information, but from just kind of the general rumblings, Fernando Mendoza came in like if this is your scale, right? And this is horrible podcasting. If you're listening on the radio, I'm apologizing, but I'm going to do this visually. If you're rating the scale, like Curtis Rourke came in right here and Fernando Mendoza came in like here. Like he was much higher, had much more kind of readiness. Now that's Curtis Rourke blew the ceiling out. He went crazy. I don't think anyone expected him to be as consistent as he was. I'm not convinced that Fernando Mendoza can do that, but even if he can just get a little bit of that, they've added so many more pieces, depth pieces, really. They returned a lot of the key players, but just have so much depth. And that's what I think we've talked about this probably 1,000 times on various shows, but how important depth is as you get to the end of the year and what these big teams have that some of the smaller teams don't, like the Ohio States versus Indiana of old. We had guys, even when I was at Indiana, that absolutely would have started at Ohio State or at least been in the rotation. Probably at majority of positions, our starters would at least be in the rotation. And I say the majority, I don't think I would have been, but everybody else would have probably been in the rotation at Ohio State. But their second string would be starters anywhere else in the country. Their third string would probably start at most Big Ten schools. And the drop-off at a place like Indiana of old was just so vast, right? Our third string wasn't starting anywhere in the Big Ten. No chance. And you have to start building that depth. And it just takes time. It takes belief. It takes high school recruiting. As much as you want to talk about the portal and how important that is, all these really good teams are forever going to be built on their high school kids to raise the level of the program. You don't take a program from 0 to 1,000 program wide. You may have a season like Indiana had, but you don't become a big player unless you have certified depth that you've brought in your system that can now play at this level. And it just takes time. I wouldn't expect Indiana to just have that in place right now, even though they were as phenomenal as they were last year. It's going to take them some time. So I think that they're just continuing to build that depth. They've gone a little more through the portal, but as these younger guys, Signetti classes start to get a little bit older, that's when you're really going to see kind of the respect that from the national media that I think they deserve. I was wound up in it last year, of course, and why doesn't anybody respect Indiana? But now that you've had some time to think about it, it's obvious. Like they've been horrible, and they had a really good season. That's amazing. Now can you back it up? And that's what I was mostly excited about the depth pieces they added. They didn't add any real like superstars. Mendoza kind of counts as that, but
he's an emerging, like he's
yeah,
somebody, if he really elevates his game this season, I mean, he'll be just like Rourke and somebody who will maybe not win the Heisman, but be a Heisman candidate for sure.
you have no choice. You have a season like you were last year. The quarterback's going to be in that kind of conversation as they should be. And the only way that you have those seasons repeatedly is high school developed talent that just continues to get better and better and better. And I was just, you're starting to see some of those bigger name kids come onto campus for visits and start to include them in their top tens. And you're seeing some 4.5-ish star players that have got Florida State, Auburn, and Indiana as their final three. Like you just don't see that very often, maybe once every couple cycles, but now you're starting to see it more and more often. And that's when you really, really take that program to kind of the levels that it deserves to be with the funding that they have. And what it's just, I think about it randomly, everyone, and I'm rambling now, but how exciting it is to be a part of the program right now.
No, it feels like Indiana is another really good season away from almost solidifying that they will be a consistent player in the Big Ten for as long as Curt Cignetti is the head coach. They may not always win the Big Ten, or maybe never win the Big Ten. They may not always make the championship game. They may not always make the playoff. But if you're always in that conversation, this is a world that Indiana fans pre-Curt Cignetti always thought was impossible, but can actually be normality for as long as he's at the helm. And it's literally like striking gold, lightning in a bottle, that sort of thing. Because I mean, who knows how long he ends up staying as the head coach? And I'm not suggesting he would leave elsewhere, but just until he retires, whether that be 10 or so years down the road, who knows of, whoever his successor would end up being in that amount of time. Who knows if this will ever be able to even be replicated? And I feel like we're both kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but they're still on the brink of allowing this to be the reality for Indiana, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Cignetti was handed the keys to a junker, a beater kind of car, and said, good luck. And the goal would be 8 years from now when he's ready to call it quits, to give somebody the keys to a Ferrari. Like that's what happens when the coach at Ohio State or Penn State or Auburn or Georgia or some of these other places, like they've been good for so long because of their high school recruiting. The guys on campus, you just kind of have to push them in the right direction. You don't have to build an entire program. And that's the level that I think Indiana should strive for, is whoever the next man is. And I hate talking about that. I want him to be the coach forever, but you want to give him a keys to a Ferrari, and that's where they're heading. They still have a long way to go. It's crazy. 365 days ago, I was hoping for 2 wins, and now I was in an argument with somebody, not an argument, but somebody was talking about like, well, Indiana's going to win every game. Their schedule is still not easy or still not hard, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, first of all, relax. Let's control expectations here. But just to even have those conversations where 8-4 feels like a bad record is insane when you look at their schedule. Like 8-4 would be the best year of the last 20 years. And I can't get myself to believe that there's 4 losses on there. It's just really a fun time. Like it's
our friend Jeffrey the Greek from Eyes on Big, he put out, I don't know if it was a like definitive prediction, but he had basically said that he thinks Indiana should win 9 games this year. And to say that Indiana should be in that range of 9 games, 9 wins, I should say, of course, we're kind of circling back to just the fact that is an expectation versus a pipe dream nowadays. It's insane. One other thing I want to mention, and I'll let you go. This is in the same vein as Jeffrey the Greek. He put out his 2025 Big Ten head coach rankings. He's got Cignetti at number 7 and all of the coaches ahead of him. Have you seen this first of all? If not, I want you to guess who the ones ahead of them are.
I saw he posted it. I did not look at it. I just looked where Cignetti was, so I knew he was 7, but I didn't even look who was above. So I'm going to make a guess here.
We got 6 coaches.
Dan Lanning.
No particular order.
Dan Lanning, Ryan Day, James Franklin.
Yep, those are Ryan Day at 1, James Franklin at 2, and Dan Lanning at 3.
Okay. Interesting. I disagree, but he's an Iowa guy, so he loves 8-4. He lives for 8-4. Kurt Ferentz. He's
That's
in there.
right. He's got Kirk Ferentz at number 4.
Yeah, no doubt. They love 8-4.
I feel like I need
Iowa.
to clip that sound and play it for him.
They love 8-4 at Iowa. Love it, dude. He's the 8-4 magician.
He is.
There's something to be said for that. He's got to be a good coach.
You're never gonna suck.
They're gonna beat somebody big, and then they're gonna lose to.
They also love winning 17 to 10.
Good for them if they scored 17,
or even 10-3.
I was gonna say. I think I saw a score 5-3 once. So if that's what they like, that's what they like. If that's what they consider good, that's crazy that he put that.
The next two, I think you're also going to be surprised that they're ahead of
Indiana. The dude from Nebraska.
I think one of them, I believe, is based on their overall success, not just at the current school that they're at.
Okay, Matt Rule.
No, it's not Matt Rule. He's number 10.
Oh, okay. Wow. The Illinois coach, Bielema.
Yeah, Brett Bielema. I think a lot of where he's based on is his success at Wisconsin. That's kind of what I think that.
And Illinois has turned it around. They were stinky, and they were Indiana stinky for a while, and they are good. They deserve 90% of the kind of hype that they're getting this year. I believe that the last 10% is like, all right, relax, but they deserve what they're getting. So there's one more.
I think you'll be surprised. I do I always try to put myself in the scenario, in the shoes of who's making these rankings. Like, why would they put this particular coach here? And I can see why certain people would be high on this particular coach and what they've done, where they've done it, but they also have kind of really dropped off. Maybe not really dropped off. They haven't been nearly as good the last couple of seasons as where they were before that, I'll say.
So Lincoln Riley.
No, not Lincoln. He's right below Cignetti at number 8.
Okay.
And I'm referring to this coach's body of work only at the school. Don't give
me any more hints. I'm gonna get this.
Okay.
There's just so many dang schools in the Big Ten.
I know. 18. Guess who's last? It's easy. Last is easy.
It's got to be the Purdue guy.
Deshaun Foster. UC. Yeah, the Purdue guy's new, so I think he kind of gets a bit of a pass.
Okay.
Barry Odom. He's number 15.
Okay.
But yeah, Deshaun Foster, UCLA. I don't think there's any disagreement, in my opinion.
Well, he just landed Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, and of course, Indiana's quarterbacks coach is the QB or the offensive coordinator there. So that'll be really interesting to see what happens, especially when they come to Bloomington this year.
Cheering for him. God.
I feel like a lot of people forget about this school in general when they think of just who's in the Big Ten.
I'm doing it right now. I know who it is. Baldy. PJ Fleck. Yes.
PJ Fleck.
He is
old plastic surgery.
He has been I have a weird kind of special place in my heart for that guy. And the reason is when I was in school, Isaac Griffith. Do you remember that name?
Yeah, Shannon Griffith's son.
Yes. He had an accident on spring break that was not good. Like he was in the ocean, something happened, and he was in the hospital. It was bad. And I don't even know if this is public, but it is now. Sorry.
I think it is.
It was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure there was a story, but it was a bad deal, really bad deal. And we talked about it a lot, and randomly he was still at Western Michigan. His whole thing has always been row the boat. And he had an oar, like a boat oar, with all the Western Michigan guys, signed it, and he wrote this thing on it, like "Stay strong, whatever. We're here for you, praying for you." And he sent that to him to the stadium. And I don't know why, but like that's when you talk about good coaches and what a good coach really is, right? Like showing college kids how to be a man at the base of it. Yeah, you want to win games, but doing something like that when you don't have to, we have no connection to Western Michigan, none. And it was profound to me. Like that is so cool it didn't feel fake. It didn't feel like you weren't doing this for publicity. No one knew about it until I just told this story. But when you do something like that, that's the kind of coach that you want leading your program. Like if I had a son and I knew that story and he wanted to go play for PJ Fleck, yeah, do it. Absolutely. So I think Kurt Signetti is a better football coach, but I don't have a problem with him being really high on that ranking. I think he's a crazy wackadoodle man, but it all comes from a place of love, and that's the way that a coach is supposed to be. So, all right, the only one I have a problem with is Ferentz, I think.
I think a lot of him being again with Jeff being an Iowa guy, I'm sure that's part of it, but also he's literally the longest tenured coach in the Big Ten. I think it's not even close. Who would even be second?
He's doing something right is the answer. He's been 8-4 or 9-3 every year for eternity, and that's just not easy to do. I don't care if you're in the Big Ten West, if you're in the MAC. Being 9-3 is hard. Winning is hard, and to be able to do that as consistently as he has, that's all right, Jeffrey. I'll allow it this time, but next year at this time, when Indiana runs the table, wins the national championship, I want Signetti ahead of Ferentz. He doesn't have to be ahead of the other guys.
If Indiana won the national title, I think you could not even argue. He immediately jumps up to number 2 at the worst. Number 1 being Ryan Day, because he also has a title under his belt now.
If that scenario actually plays out, I don't think I'd be around to see it. I would just evaporate.
Just evaporate.
I wouldn't have any other, for what? I would just see you later. That's the greatest thing. That'd be the greatest.
Mitchell, I've probably kept you too long, but I appreciate your time as always, and we'll definitely.
Girl dad.
Girl dad. That's right. We haven't talked about it on here, and I don't know how much we were wanting to get into it. I've been trying to tease that we were going to do Out of Touch here soon. Maybe never. Maybe that'll never happen.
No, let's say I can do it this week. Let's do it this week.
We'll see.
Come listen.
I've said on this show a number of times, whenever I came back from being off for a few weeks, is that the day that my wife got induced in labor was the day we were supposed to do Out of Touch the most recent time, and it just never happens. But yeah, girl dad team right here. Now we got a 6-week-old right now. Once we shut this segment down, I'll have my wife bring in the baby so you can take a look at her for the first time. But we're super excited to be parents now.
It's the best. It's the best. You got a long road ahead, man. Road ahead, and
you're very close to having a 1-year-old.
Less than a month.
What's your birthday?
June 22nd.
June. Yes, so a summer baby, right at the beginning of summer. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll do this another time, and hopefully continue to have good things to talk about. Maybe the Pacers will win an NBA Finals. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
All right. Of course, big thanks to Mitchell, and look forward to having him on more regularly as we get, a couple months away from football season. Mitchell's my A1 day one when it comes to this show, right? That may have been one of the corniest things that I've said in regards to a guest, but man, do people even say people don't say A1 day one anymore. I may have just stated myself. But nonetheless, we said it. So let's we'll go ahead and we're going to wrap up today's episode. Looking ahead to next week, we'll talk about a few things that I'm just saving for a rainy day, or maybe not a rainy day, but just for a day that's going to be more of a traditional style episode. We'll react to Indiana basketball officially announcing their Puerto Rico trip, and we'll see if more details arise on that. Jim Irsay passes away at 65. I guess maybe that'll be a little more dated as the week, as we get another week down the road. But, rest in peace to him, and prayers to him and his family, as, not a lot of people realized that he was not in the best of shape. As you've seen that with a lot of celebrities, it feels like in the last several years, people keeping their sicknesses and things more private, which, I can 100% respect that. And let's see, Bill Belichick, apparently, I don't know if he's engaged, but there's some weird stuff going on with him and his girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, the 20 something year old woman who is with a 70-something-year-old man. Just, it is what it is all I can really say about that. And then straight seeding coming to the college football playoff. I'll get into a number of those other things as we get ready for next week's episode. So hope you enjoyed the conversation between myself and Mitchell Paige during this episode, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your week. We will be back at it again next Monday. So until then, enjoy yourselves. This has been another edition of In Touch with Indiana Sports, powered by thehoosier.com.